Welcome to the next in our short series of video interviews where I ask what's next post-COVID-19 to our senior HR leadership. This time I'm speaking with Paola Parsons, who is the head of HR for Europe and Americas for Standard Chartered. So good morning, Paola, and how are you today?
Good morning, Peter, and thanks for the opportunities. I'm at home, as you can see from the background, so I hope our dog doesn't start barking while we're talking.
Paola, so I think what would be good to start is you give us a little idea of your role with Standard Chartered and your overall responsibilities, so we get to know a little bit more about you.
Sure. I'm the head of HR for Europe and Americas. I'm accountable for setting and delivering the people strategy across the regions, which comprises of 13 countries and supports approximately 5,000 colleagues.
So thanks, Paola. So what we'll do is let's kick off with our first question, which is COVID-19 coming through the crisis and preparing for a better future. So what are your key concerns and challenges for your employees and organisation right now? So obviously we've gone through some of the pain, I guess it is, but kind of where are you now really?
Well, first and foremost, our priority was and still is health and safety and well-being of colleagues. So our responsibilities is right from the beginning has been to make sure we can all operate safely and still provide a good service to clients. With all the restrictions and governments closing borders, you end up from having a very mobile organization to colleagues in some cases getting stranded in different countries, expats that couldn't be repatriated, and that's been also a big crisis for HR to deal with. With embassies closed and people not being able to be reunited with their families. We actually don't have a branch network in our region, so we've been able to have 95% of colleagues working from home and work productively. Technology has worked really well. We offer an allowance towards technology equipment and then made available a number of digital tools for collaborations and making sure we continue to stay connected. So then once you've taken care of the basics, you have to deal with the fact that we have lots of colleagues working from home for a prolonged period of time. If I look at our offices in North America, it's unlikely they're going to be back until the new year. So our focus has been to keep colleagues engaged, involved, and maintain a sense of belonging. So regular communication has been key to sustain our culture. And I have to say, our people leader have done a great job of being visible, accessible, and showed a high degree of empathy. And I certainly hope it is something we can maintain. We should really keep hold of it. And then, working remotely has its challenges. You're trying to balance work and family commitments. And, I'm so pleased my son is back to school now. It affects everybody. And then depending on what your personal circumstances are, it can be quite isolating. So well-being and mental health is our biggest focus now. Mental health first aiders have been a great help. And from an HR point of view, our well-being strategy was really well underway, so we could mobilize really quickly and launched a well-being toolkit for people leaders, well-being app for colleagues, and a number of courses on resilience and mindfulness. And it's paid off. We just actually ran an opinion survey, and the feedback has been that colleagues feel really, really supported.
Yeah, so Paola, I think it is absolutely right. Everyone's kind of dealing with this in a very personal way, in terms of it's all about their risk, and I guess that's what you're seeing as well, aren't you? How you have to manage that.
That's right. I think a lot depends on your personal circumstances. It's been quite challenging with homeschooling and having children at home during the summer, and no childcare. And then you have people in different age groups that if you're 25 to 30 and you might not have the perfect workstation at home, you probably miss being in the office, not only for the space, but also for keeping connected with your colleagues and the social aspects of that water cooler conversation that we kind of lost now.
And actually thinking about that through, that whole piece of engagement has been a huge, probably a bigger challenge than perhaps some other things as well, haven't they? In terms of with everyone remote, trying to keep that kind of level of engagement up is a challenge.
It takes a lot of effort. You end up talking to your team. You end up talking to clients and colleagues that you need to connect to progress with maybe a specific piece of work. What you do lose is some of the social aspects and some of the more informal connections that you make at work, either when you're in the office or traveling to a different office, especially when you work in a global organization.
And just one other thing, when I think about it, in terms of the organisation thinking ahead, has this had an impact on? Well, it's obviously had an immediate impact on travel, for example, overseas travel. You're a global organisation, so is the kind of long-term strategy change in terms of that whole travel kind of scenario?
For the time being, for sure, all business travel is impacted and suspended. We're going to have to adapt to different governments and what restrictions they might put in place. It has affected a great deal the way we work as an organization, because it's a very global organization and people tend to be pretty mobile. So you would fly to Frankfurt for a team meeting, for a client discussions, and you will have someone coming from a Singapore office to make connections with clients in Europe and meet the local team. That clearly hasn't been possible.
Excellent, thank you. And so, yeah, I guess technology is a key enabler, as we found throughout this. So depending on how far ahead you were in your journey, then, as you rightly say, that's helped immeasurably with this. So and the well-being piece. So really, you already had a lot of kind of things in place before this, by the sounds of it, with your first aiders, as it were.
That's right. We first aiders, but also having a good well-being strategy in place so that we could launch a number of things really, really quickly and provide support and engagement straight away.
And is there, Paola, is there any kind of examples you can give of some of the things that you've actually done there in the well-being space?
So we launched an app, a well-being app for all colleagues. We launched a toolkit for people, leaders, on how to deal with it. And then had a number of courses on resilience and mindfulness, and those have been made available to everybody.
Let's move on to question 2 then. So question 2 really, I mean, I think you've already mentioned that actually some of your business may not be going until sort of 2021 till they go back to the office. But so this staged return, this planning and sort of what sort of measures are you putting in place, or just how are you thinking about that staged return, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, our priority is still safety and well-being, and ensuring people feel comfortable that we put the right things in place for a safe return. And I have to say, our property teams have done a really good job at preparing our buildings and introduce a number of health and safety measures. For example, multiple in and out entry points, especially in shared areas where the space could get congested. Regular cleaning, disinfecting, obviously social distancing. And then with offices where they're already reopened, really limiting the number of visitors and meetings, and introducing staggered start times where colleagues have to get on public transport. These plans have to be reviewed country by country. We have to adapt to governments relaxing and tightening lockdown restrictions in all our markets. So the local team have to be flexible on the ground and adapt to dealing with different scenarios. It's also given us the opportunity to review workspace. We had plans, for example, in Poland to relocate to new offices in the summer. So the HR team and the property team are worked really closely to look at our office space so that we could have space for more agile ways of working. We're counting on the fact that we'll never have full occupancy going forward. So we're looking to create more collaboration space rather than traditional desks.
Yeah, I think there's a real theme coming on through, isn't there, about this collaboration space and how the offices and businesses will be used as a base in the future. So you're obviously moving quite quickly down that kind of thought process and how you might use them more proactively, I guess.
That's right, yes. I think this has been an opportunity to reevaluate our people strategy, and there are clearly some aspects that we want to bring forward and accelerate, considering what we learned in the last 6 months.
Yeah, and then also the other thing is what I think we're finding as well is that when people do come back to the office at the moment anyway, it's kind of not the same place that they remember because of all the kind of the elements that you've got to put in place for safety, etc. So again, it's managing that change, isn't it, in terms of their expectation. Right, okay, so let's move on to question 3 then, Paola, which is what are the opportunities? So I really like this kind of whole thought process that you're already doing with your office space. I can see that. What are the opportunities that you're exploring for the future, the learning from the crisis? Because obviously it's a huge amount of learning. And ultimately the destination journey for the business, has that changed? And really, how do you see this panning out for you, your HR function and your employees? Quite a big question, I know.
Sure, I guess during the pandemic we went from relatively low levels to over 95% of colleagues working from home, and that's been without losing productivity. And we've run a survey recently. Colleagues actually told that they would welcome more flexible arrangement on a permanent basis. So as an HR team, we started to look at redesigning how work can be done. And what I mean by that, we established some principles and reviewed job families and established what roles could be done flexibly and what roles require physical presence in the office, either for regulatory or governance reasons. Everybody's needs are different, so we can't have a one-size-fits-all, but any changes that we're looking to make, how colleagues work, will have to be a two-way agreement between people leaders and the individuals, so that we can balance the business needs with personal circumstances. So this project has been a really good collaboration between HR, IT, and property, and overall, rethinking, as I said before, our workspace to have more space for collaboration and have a better support and more flexible workforce. And obviously, technology is a big enabler, so we're going to continue to invest in digital capabilities and enhance teamwork. We're thinking at this in a phased. We're taking a phased approach. We'll have to take into account local regulatory, cultural and practical considerations. So in our region, we're starting with Poland, the UK and US. So I'm excited. I mean, it's a real opportunity to access a diverse talent pool. Overall, I think it drives the inclusion agenda, and from a talent retention, you can accommodate individuals that they're looking for more flexible arrangements.
Yeah, I think the whole talent pool thing has been turned on its head, isn't it? As you rightly say, you can attract because they don't need to necessarily be in the office. It's changed that whole dynamic massively. So I agree, that's opened up. And what about, I was interested, I was talking to Hayley Tatum from ASDA the other day, and obviously the digitalization of kind of what's happened with their, I guess, with their customers, because they've adapted, they've had to adapt. Is that having an impact? That's got to be having an impact in banking as well, I guess, with your customers, because they've been forced to perhaps use digital banking, which they wouldn't have done before.
We actually already have a digital bank. What has changed is how we engage virtually our clients. And, we are, as an organization, are really mobile. So you tend to go to your clients wherever they are. But the pandemic has meant that nobody can travel. And so it's been a great equalizer in that respect. So our clients and as well, our bankers have to adapt to engage in a virtual setting. From a HR point of view, I think while our colleagues are going through changing their working habits, we see these are an opportunity also to shift learning behaviors. I think we're trying to move to continuous learning, and in order to support that, we have to launch a digital platform. We launched a learning digital platform, Discover, very recently, and that's made learning available anytime, anywhere, and create bespoke learning paths that people can create for themselves rather than wait to sit in a classroom. So I can see this also influencing how we're going to manage performance going forward. I think gone are the days when you had once or twice a year discussion on performance with your people leaders. I think we're really moving towards continuous growth and development going forward.
Yeah, and the performance management comes up a lot in terms of that, as you rightly say, if you're going to do it remotely, how do you do it? How best do you do it? So you're finding some ways, do you think, of kind of being able to measure, do you think, pretty well?
I think it has to be more of a continuous discussion as opposed to a set time during the course of the year. And as you're looking at continuous learning, you can also look at continuous growth and development.
And I think the whole thing accelerated that whole digitalization, as you say, within the HR department, the link between IT, we've already said. So that's been a really positive, if you can, when we take the positives, we try and take them, don't we? It's through this. And so, Paola, finally, let's kind of talk about you then. So this is kind of these crazy times and you're a senior HR leader, managing a huge number of employees in terms of what you do with your team. So how has it been for you as a leader through these challenging times? How have you been getting on?
I have mixed feelings. It's been really intense, as you can imagine. And it's obvious that we're going to have to live with a level of uncertainty for quite some time. So my focus is going to have to continue everybody's well-being, health and safety. But at the same time, it's been really energizing. I think HR has taken center stage and also gave us an opportunity to progress some aspects of our people strategy at a faster pace. I think the bank looked at us for guidance, advice, expertise, and I feel like the HR team rose to the challenge. So equally energizing and exhausting.
And do you think obviously I can get a sense that you're really seeing those opportunities that are coming from this, you seem to be grasping those. And I think, yeah, you're right. A lot of it has come up, the unknown. This has been about the unknown all along, isn't it? And it's changed, keeps chopping and changing. You're having to react to it.
I think, being able to adapt to change in real time is been the key for our leaders, but also for us as an HR function, you know, look at our strategy and dial up certain aspects that are going to enable the future of working now.
Good. So I think that's probably everything, Paola. So that's really, really kind of, it's just been interesting to sort of, as I said to you, someone in the financial industry, which is different to some of the ones I've spoken to before. So that's been really good. Thank you. So thank you all for joining with us today. I will talk to another senior HR leader, and we'll see how they're navigating and exploring the opportunities for the new better. So thanks, Paola.
Thanks for your time and thanks for the opportunity.